evening and welcome to our broadcast. As you are coming in, I'm just curious where everybody is tuning in from this evening. Tonight, we're having a great conversation. For those of you who are interested in writing a book, but there's some questions you have, and you were kind of curious if you could find the answers to, well, I'm happy to tell you that we have an expert with us this evening, Don Francis, who is not a one time or a two-time, but a three-time best selling author. And so I thought we would have some conversations to inspire you to write your story. Don, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, first of all, Don, can you tell us a little bit about your journey to becoming an author? Like, what inspired you? Like, maybe someone else might have similar inclinations as they hear your story. What inspired you to become an author?
Well, my journey
Yeah.
actually is what inspired part of what inspired me to write the journey that I have been on called life.
Mm. Okay.
However, I also am a woman of faith, and I absolutely felt that it was something that I was supposed to do. And at one point, um, the title of my book was given to me,
Mm.
or came to me, I should say, and I just kind of wrote it down in my phone.
Mm.
And I was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. It was like, you hear this inward thing say, write a book. Write a book.
Mm.
And it just so happens that, like, 3 years later, 3 years later, because all the while I'm like, oh, yeah, 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 I will. Then I literally heard a voice say, it's time to do it now.
Okay.
And that's,
Let me stop you. You said you heard this impression for 3 years and you didn't take action.
well, I'll say it to you this way. I heard and I felt the impression for 3 years because I wrote the title down and I was like, I'm going to get to it, right?
Yeah.
Going to get to it. And so after I then heard it's time to do it now, is when I took action.
So there's probably someone listening right now. You know that you have an important story to tell. But maybe like Don, you know it. You've known it for a few years, but you haven't taken action. This is your permission to become an author.
Yes.
2025 is your year to become an author. I want to encourage you, whether or not Don or myself help you, I want you to know there's no need for you to wait. I realized this evening I was getting ready, planning some content, and I realized nobody is promised tomorrow. I can't say for sure in 2026 I'll do this or do that. Nobody can say for sure whether they'll be alive in 2026. But you're alive here in 2025, and you have an opportunity to tell and write your story. And I just want to give you permission to write your story.
Yes, I
Okay.
love that.
Mm. So, so you finally listened to the voice. You felt comfortable. What were the next steps that you took?
Well, I began researching. I did start writing, but I started researching, just trying to find everything that I could about, well, how am I supposed to do this? You know what I'm saying? It's like you feel this mandate, and it's like, okay, so God, you're going to have to help me. So I'm researching, I'm looking, I'm taking classes, I'm looking for classes, I'm looking for coaches, I'm just going. And I base it upon what I've seen and what I've heard, for those of you who are go to church, or I know several of my pastors had written books, and I was like, well, let me look to see what they did. Let me read what they who it was their editors, and you know, and
Okay.
so I went that route.
Okay.
Just trying to get as much information as I could, so that I could at least do it at a level of excellence that I knew that, my parents who have gone on to be with the Lord, I wanted something that would make them proud, you know?
Mm,
And so I did my research.
okay. So you did your research. You wanted to figure out, okay, you looked at your pastors, they had books. You wanted to see from the excellence of what they did, you wanted to see, okay, these are the different steps, these are the different tools that I need. What were some of those tools that you found that you needed after you did your research?
Well, one of the the biggest tools that I found that I needed was an editor.
So that's a big deal. An editor
It
is
was
a
a
big
big deal.
deal.
It was an absolute big deal for me,
Okay.
because I was just like, I really didn't know what I was doing. And although I was researching and I was looking and asking questions, and I took classes and I took courses, and it just seemed like a lot of the things that I was trying to get answered, the questions that I was trying to get answered, for whatever reason, people would not tell me. Just like,
They were gatekeeping, huh?
well, I don't think that they felt that they were gatekeepers, but they were just kind of like, well, go, you know, th- go to that website or go research it here or there or, and I'm like, yeah, but okay, but if you could just tell me what to do,
Yeah.
it'd make it a whole lot easier and faster. But I will say this: it was a great experience, and I know now partially why the experience was what it was, so that I could be here today with the knowledge and the understanding of what it feels like to be frustrated and to not know what to do and to be
Mm.
searching and searching and searching and then spending way too much money because I didn't know what I was doing and I was hiring people to do things that I didn't need to hire them to do. And then I hired multiple people to do multiple things and some of the same things were overlapping and it just was
Wow.
not a good thing.
Okay.
But
So,
it's
mm.
good now because I can tell you what not to do and I can tell you what path not to take.
So for those of you who don't know, my name is David Griffiths, David the Digital Creator, and I have over 1.5 million followers online. And one of the things that I want to do this year is I want to write down some of my story to be able to help others to be able to have the transformation that they desire in their life. And so I wanted to get help in this process. And voila, God blesses me to start working with Dawn Francis and help get her message out. And it's actually something that I think is valuable for me. I want to be good at sharing my story. And it sounds to me like what I hear you saying is because you went through it the hard way, you have the answers and have created an easier way, and you're supporting people on their journey so they don't have to suffer the way that you did.
Said beautifully.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So, how exactly do you support people in their writing journey?
Well, I support people by coaching those who have reached out to me to do private coaching. I coach. I also have a writing community that actually was birthed out of one of my master classes because several of the students were like, "We need a community." And I was like, okay, you need a community. Let's see if we can do something about that. So we now have a community that meets every week. It's a new community, so we're starting. We're going to be meeting every single week, and I'm going to be accessible to those who are part of that community to help them to cross the line, get all the way to from A to Z and getting their book published, written and
Okay.
published. Also, I have an intensive coming up that I'm so excited about because I've been actually talking about this for years and people have
Mm.
asked me for it for years. They were like, "You need can we get together and do a boot camp? Let's do an intensive." And I'm like, "Yes, yes." So now we are actually it is actually happening from the 17th through the 19th. And in that intensive, those of you who sign up, I'm going to walk through each step of the blueprint and take you through from start to finish so that If you are ready to write your book, you will have everything that you need. You'll have your questions answered, and you'll be ready and know what to do as it relates to publishing your book.
Wow. Okay. So, what is the advantage of going to an intensive? What is it that I'm going to get there versus, say, joining your community?
The quickest answer is speed.
Mm, okay.
Speed. The intensive is set so that those who are ready, your book can literally be published that weekend.
Mm, okay.
I have some authors who have said, I got like, it's almost done, and, I don't know what else to do. And I'm like, come to the intensive, because not only will you be coached through completing it, but you will also get the process of self-publishing. If you're going to self-publish, we can actually walk you through getting everything set, done, and published on that weekend. So
Mm.
when you leave, you could actually be a published author.
That sounds exciting. Like the idea that I could come, you could give me what I needed, and I could actually be a published author by the end of the weekend.
You could, absolutely.
This is wonderful. So, how do people sign up for this wonderful intensive?
You can go to my Instagram, DRW Francis, and there is a link in my bio for you to click.
Wonderful.
And you can simply just join, or you can go to my link tree, which is also on my Instagram, and you just look at, there's lots of postings, and you can
Wonderful.
just click on one of them.
And actually, if you all look at the description to this video, whether you're looking at it on LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube, the actual link, I think it's called buy.lifelegacybooks.com. Is that what it is?
You do not want to quote me, because
Okay.
I
Yes.
do not want to send you down a path that is not correct.
Yes. So it's in the program notes. It's in the description of the video. So
Yes.
so I am looking forward to taking advantage of this wonderful intensive, and I invite you to come and join me. I want company. I want to be doing this now. I want to be doing it with friends. I got some
Yes,
online
it's gonna
friends.
be so much fun.
Let's
It's gonna be work,
let's
but it's
have
gonna
some
be fun.
fun, but work together. Come on,
Work
guys, let's do it
together. Come
together.
on, let's go. Let's go. It's
So
gonna be
I
great.
wanted to I wanted to test your I wanted to test your genius this evening. So there are people under the sound of our voice who have excuses why they haven't written their book. One of them would be, I don't have time. What would your answer be to why that's a bad excuse not to have written or not to get writing your book?
It's not a good excuse, because you can always make time, and we make time for the things that are important to us and the things that we want. Okay? And there's so many tools that we can work with to make time when you
Like what?
need time. And how
How,
do you make time?
how do we make time?
You make time.
What kind of
So let's say you have a busy life, and you're working a full-time job, and you have a family, and you gotta take care of life. My suggestion would be wake up a half an hour early,
okay?
spend that time meditating and
Mm,
writing.
mm,
If you have a commute like I do to and from work, utilize that time to do voice notes.
mm,
Um, I would also suggest that there are some other time tools where make sure that you do 30 minutes. It could be before you go to bed. It could be after you wake up. If you have children, wonderful, beautiful children, you could do a creative time with them. Everybody sits at the table and have them do puzzles or color, and you spend that time focused writing. You know, um, there are many different avenues and ways in which we can utilize time, and fix it so that the time works for us.
mm.
I hope that helps.
That was a great answer. Okay, so you did really well with that one. Let me give you a harder one.
Uh-oh.
Um, I'm not a good writer.
Okay. Is that the excuse?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you're not a good writer, but you have a great story, you can get help with that. We have so many different tools that help us to become better writers. So you don't have to be an expert writer. You don't have to have a master's degree in English or a master's degree in um, writing per se. If you if you are a person who has a story, it can be accomplished.
You
So
told
you may
you
not.
told us you said something interesting. You said we could what is it? You said we can use notes or something? We can record ourselves?
Of course. Come on now. This is 2025. If you
Yes.
have an iPhone, or if you don't have an iPhone, you have a phone that has a recording device on it. That will record what you're saying. And a lot of times, it will not only record what you're saying, it will actually give you word memos.
I love it.
And with those word memos, all it is copying and pasting and putting into a Word doc.
So that sounds to me like if you can talk, you can write your story. You
Of
just
course
speak
you
it.
can. If you can talk, you can write your story.
Okay.
Absolutely. Now, don't get me wrong. If you are a person that says, well, you know what, I really want it to be at a level of excellence and a level of excellence that I may not be capable of, then what we do is we hire a person, as I stated at the very beginning, an editor, a
Ah,
person who can indeed look at our writing and critique it and say, hey, you know what, this needs to be fixed. And how do you fix it? That editor should be able to give you direction and
okay.
be able to tell you how you're going to make those connections with your book. And I state that uh, I can give kudos to my first editor. My first editor, that is exactly what she did. And
Oh,
she was a professional editor who edited several I will say several prominent authors.
oh,
And
okay.
so, with that being said, she gave me direction.
Okay.
And I appreciated that. All editors may not be able to do that. It just depends
Mm.
upon what your needs are. But she was able to tell me, hey, Dawn, stop writing and wait for my instruction. And I was like, yay, somebody's going to tell me what to do. Awesome. So, it's just a wonderful thing when you can get the right person to tell you what it is that you need to do.
Okay. So I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to have this conversation here for the lovely people on my platform. I have just one excuse more. You did really good with the first couple ones. What if I feel like people are going to judge me if I share my story?
People are going to judge you if you share your story. I would say let them. I mean, for real. Because if you're daring enough to share your story, there are thousands, if not millions, of people out there who will be blessed by it. And that one person who might be judging you, you can ignore them.
Okay.
That's one way.
Yeah.
The other thing is to think of it like this: your story is so important,
Hmm.
no matter
Hmm.
what you do, people are going to talk, but you want to give them positive things to
You
say.
just said your story is important. You
Yes.
just said your story is important. Why is my story important? Is it going to it, like it's just me? I mean, I'm not Beyonce. I mean, why is my story important?
Your story is important because we don't go through what we go through in life just for ourselves. It's not
Hmm.
only about you. And if you haven't realized that yet, you haven't lived long enough to understand that
Hmm.
what we go through is not just for ourselves, but it's also to benefit others. And so if a person has uh, gone down a path, it could be a victorious path, it could be a path that has hurdles, it could be a path that has all sorts of things, right? And
Yeah.
somebody's coming behind you. And
Hmm.
Why is it not that you can't share with them, hey, listen, around that corner, there's a hole.
Mm.
And if you're not careful, I just want you to know that the hole is there so you can divert your whatever it is. If you're driving, if you're walking, you don't have to go in that hole. Because if you get
Mm.
stuck in that hole, it could probably prevent you from wherever it is that you're going. Perhaps you
Mm.
have a wonderful thing on the other side that you're trying to get to, you know? So I feel like each of us should take that responsibility. And when I say that responsibility of sharing your story, and
Mm.
so that others can benefit from your wisdom, your
Yeah.
knowledge,
Yeah.
your path of understanding. Um, and so and that's something for me that is very if you're a person who follows me, that is absolutely one of the things that is a priority for me and for those who I work with, the importance of sharing your story so that you can help others and so that other people can benefit from uh, your legacy, because that's what it is.
This is beautiful. You know, I've often said, I ask, God, why did you allow me to get so many followers online? And I thought, well, there must be something that I'm supposed to share with all these people I get to pray with every day. There must be a reason for the opportunity. And I've gone through some very painful experiences in my life in recent years, and I often ask, you know, what am I supposed to do with this? And I have a good friend, Sister Robin, and Sister Robin would always say that the things that you go through are going to be a blessing to someone else. So you mentioned someone's traveling and there's a hole in the road, but they don't see it, and you've been on the road and you've fallen, or you've seen other people fall in it, and you know that that's going to add years until you get to your destiny. And so if you can avoid the hole by reading my story, then it's worth me sharing my story.
Absolutely. And
I
there's one other
received that.
thing to that, though. There's one other thing to that, because we all have trials that we go through. And when you're in that trial, oftentimes you don't see, although you can look through the eyes of faith, you could utilize all that faith, but sometimes you're in a dark place and you can't see your way out. But if someone says to you, listen, I went through that very same thing. I promise you, I was victorious. I got
Mm.
out. And let me tell you how, because my experience was da 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 da. And you're like, oh my God, you mean I can actually be victorious? You mean I can actually
Yeah.
have joy on the other side? So, people don't realize how important it is to share when you feel within your spirit that you have something to share, something to say to help others, how important it is for you to get it out and get it done. So I'm hoping that this conversation will encourage those who are listening to just get in there and get it done. Come on, let's go.
Come on, let's go. All right. I received that. So y'all, let's go. January 17 through January 19, the Write Your Story Intensive with three-time bestseller Dawn Francis, where she's going to give you everything you need. You could be done and get your book published. Done. 19th, you got everything done, and you've been putting this off for years. I challenge you not to delay. Take advantage of this special offer to work with Dawn. I understand, Dawn, that because you are a person of faith, I know that I've seen it. You go the extra mile when you help people. So let's say that someone like gets through the weekend and they don't finish. Do you have any I don't know,
Yes, because
plan?
you are if you are a person who signs up, I'm going to walk with you through it until you get to your goal. So that being said, I will make sure that my team, myself, are accessible to help you if you have questions and you like, or if you just need a swift kick. I'm really good at that.
Sure.
Okay, don't get scared though. It's a really good thing. It's a good thing. I promise. I promise. You can ask my students, they'll tell you. It doesn't hurt really bad, but you just get to the other side really quick. Okay.
All right. So we have what we need. We have support, and we have speed. We can get it all done. But if we need some extra support, you promised, hey, I got you. On the backside, I and my team, we're going to make sure that you're straight and you get your book published. I love it.
Absolutely.
I love it. So, once again, people you said can go to your Instagram profile
Yes.
and they can click the link in bio, or they can just go to the description of this video and click, and they will be transported and be able to sign up. I'm looking forward, because I'm going to be there too. I'm looking forward to seeing you at the intensive. And do me a favor, if this conversation that we've had has been of value, you've gained some insight, maybe some encouragement, please share it with one of your friends who's been thinking about writing a book. Won't you do that? Thank you so
Yay.
much for your help. Dawn, thank you so much for this conversation, and I look forward to continued conversations with you, adding value to my online community and inspiring people to stop sitting on the fence, to actually write their story and
Yeah.
see the change that happens as a result of them letting someone else know what they've learned on their journey through this life.
Awesome.
All right. Until next time, peace, love, and soul. Grace and peace. Have
Grace
a
and
good
peace.
night.
Have a good night.